Hi, my name is Marshall. Last night I was looking around on YouTube for videos to learn how to do aluminum polishing. The only ones that I found seem to have some fairly expensive shop equipment available at their disposal. So, yesterday I spent some time learning a new technique, and I'd like to share it with you today. We're going to learn how to polish aluminum with using just your hands. Yes, it's a lengthy process, but if you don't have the funds at your disposal for said equipment, then this is the way to go. Now granted, it's not a competition quality showroom shine, but it is acceptable. These are the tools we're going to use today. As with all sanding activities that produce an airborne particulate, you should have a respirator, some type of face mask, safety glasses, and anytime you're using a lot of equipment, you should use disposable earplugs. What we're going to be using is a vibrating sander from Lowe's or Home Depot. Not very expensive, but it sure does, and not a necessity, but sure does make the job go a lot easier. We've got wire brushes, a fine wire brush and a coarse wire brush, a Dremel tool that is also not a necessity. I didn't use it on this valve cover today, and but it does get into the nooks and crannies if that's the look you're going for a complete polish. I use a Mother's mag and aluminum polish for my polishing compound. That's the only compound that I use, is that right there. I have a little accessory kit for the Dremel tool that contains all the little polishing pieces that I need if I'm going to use it. I have some mineral spirits here, some paint thinner mineral spirits, which will help me clean up the compound on the part after the final polishing, and will take all the unused compound off the part. A box of paper towels. You definitely need a lot of paper towels. Paper towels are your friend. And here I've got a small sandblasting unit, media blasting unit, that I purchased at my local parts store for $21, I believe. It does a great job for getting into those small nicks and crannies and creating a nice space to begin with. But also not a necessity that you could do all these things by hand if you don't have the tools. The sanding process is going to happen in 3 stages. The first stage is a 220 grit. It's a hook and loop backed pad designed for my mouse sander, and I will also be using some of it to hand sand with. The next stage is a 400 grit wet sandpaper. It will take us down even further and closer to our mirror, like mirror polish that we are trying to achieve. The last step is 1000 grit sandpaper. You could go one further and go to 2000 grit, but I haven't noticed any time saving as far as polishing goes. This is a very fine grit and will take the longest of our sanding processes to complete. This is the valve cover we're working with today. It has been sitting exposed to the elements for quite some time, and as you can see, is badly corroded. It was originally painted from the factory, and what we're going to attempt to do today is turn it into this. As you can see, this is one that I've done yesterday, and it has got quite a shine to it. It is not perfect by any means, but highly acceptable to go on anybody's everyday street vehicle. Okay, the first thing we're going to want to do is use our wire brushes here and take off the majority of the old paint and whatnot. We're not really worried about scratching it at this point in time since we will be sanding. So the first step will be to prepare the part for the process you're about to do. Obviously, I need to remove a few things here, but these areas inside of here are fairly difficult to get to. I'm going to be using a sandblaster, and but you can do it by hand if you don't have the use of a sandblaster or a compressor. Okay, we're just going to pretty much scrub this. As you can see how easily this paint is coming off. It flakes off in really big sections. This is going to be a time saver right here as far as how long it's going to take us to do this piece. You can do it with the sandpaper, but I've found that the casting imperfections are usually deeper than the scratches you're going to put in it with this. I've finished wire brushing. I've left some paint on it, and as you can see, the part is already beginning to look better than it did when I started. I'm going to fire up my sandblaster, my little spot blaster, and get the harder to reach areas before beginning to sand. Okay, I've finished blasting, and as you can see, I have blasted in here where the lettering is, inside of these little indentions for the valve cover hold down bolts, and around the perimeter of it to get in the nice tiny areas that you can't reach with your hands. Like I said, it can be done by hand, but is long and tedious, and it's well worth more than the 20 bucks that little sandblaster cost. Now we'll be working with a 220 grit sandpaper on a vibratory sander. As with any sanding project, you should think about your personal safety. A particulate respirator such as the one that I hold in my hand and a pair of disposable earplugs are paramount when doing any type of sanding or grinding activity that creates particulates in the air. It is no joke, and people have died from it. Okay, what I want to do with my vibratory sander is hit the large areas. I'm not too concerned about the edges and in here toward where the sander cannot reach. What we're going to do now is go ahead and start sanding. I've stopped sanding to try and show you. I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but these little casting imperfections right here, what you're trying to get out is all these little black spots. Those little black spots will make your mirror finish look very bad. So I'm going to go ahead and continue sanding, working out all these little black spots where I see them. This whole piece is covered in them, and it's going to take quite some time. So I'm going to get to it. About 45 minutes has passed, and I'm finished with my 220 grit sandpaper. I have not removed all the casting imperfections, but for the type of finish that I'm looking for, it is not needed to go completely down. My next process will be a 400 grit wet sandpaper.